Okay, well, hello everybody and welcome. I am Lisa Reichert. I use she, her pronouns. I am the career and professional development lead within people and organization development. And I want to wish you all a happy first day of fall. And I think that it's so fitting that we ended up offering this workshop on this day. So, growing self awareness and resilience at work through mindfulness and yoga practices. And I think that, on this day, on this fall equinox, this is a day where we have nearly equal light and dark around the world. So, what a perfect time to focus on our own grounding and centering of ourselves during this day of equilibrium, and maybe bringing some more centering to the world as a result. And here to lead us in doing that is Denora Meyer. Denora has more than 20 years of experience as a career counselor and coach for individuals in a widely ranging stages of life and career stages. And since 2004, she has counseled and delivered programming for Cal students and alumni. And for 5 years, she's provided career services for partners and visiting scholars and postdocs through Cal's VSPA program and has seen clients in private practice since 1999. Currently, Denora is the Cal Career Center's Assistant Director for Environmental Design. And Denora earned her MS in Counseling from San Francisco State University and BA in French and minor in dance from Tufts University. Denora is a national certified counselor and an advanced registered yoga teacher and is working toward becoming a certified yoga therapist. She enjoys integrating yoga concepts and practices into counseling to engage clients holistically in exploration and problem solving, in helping them manage stress, gain clarity and perspective, and feel more empowered. Denora has offered workshops integrating career development and yoga for several organizations, such as the UC Davis Internship and Career Center and Sacramento chapter of the Association for Women in Science. She's also been very actively involved in our NOW conference. She led the activity break at the 2022 NOW conference, and this is her second time providing a workshop for Cal staff through our NOW Encore series. So Denora, thank you so very much for sharing your expertise and your time and energy with us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and I've really enjoyed working with you. Anybody who is interested in possibly doing a workshop or have an opportunity to work with Lisa, I encourage you to pursue it because she is wonderful to work with. So a plug for you. So I just want to get getting started. I just want to start us with a grounding, centering meditation. And if you haven't done meditation before or done any guided breathing, I invite you to try to be open-minded and just allow yourself into the experience to just try it out. And I like to close my eyes. You can find a point of focus in front of you, a few feet in front of you if you prefer, or close your eyes halfway, whatever feels good to you, to help you turn your attention inward, bring your attention into your body. So wherever you are, I invite you now to settle into your body, to feel the connection between your seat and the surface beneath you, between your feet and the earth below, feeling the earth supporting your weight, reaching the crown of your head up towards the sky, lengthening up through your spine, and bringing your attention to your breathing, breathing in and out through your nose, or you can breathe out through your mouth if you prefer. Allow your shoulders and arms and hands to relax. If you're holding any tension in your face, allow that to soften. Gently tuck your chin to lengthen the back of your neck. And continue breathing in and out. This is your opportunity now to pull in toward yourself any scattered energy from earlier today. Maybe you've been busy with a lot of different things, active, running around, lots of different thinking and feeling. I invite you now to pull in that scattered energy, any scattered energy towards your center. You can imagine that you have a channel of light from the base of your spine up through your pelvis, your torso, your neck, and the crown of your head, and that you are pulling that energy in towards this central channel, sort of like fireflies coming to light, and just pull that energy in, allowing yourself to settle inward, to pull inward, to get centered, and then breathing up and down into this channel of light. With each inhale, bringing in fresh energy, and each exhale, letting go of tension, tightness, anything that isn't serving you right now. You can imagine that extraneous energy that you're bringing in, anything from that you don't need, you can allow it to escape with your exhale down into the earth to be recycled. And just feel your body being in your body, feeling your muscles, being aware of your bones and the different systems of your body, respiratory, circulatory, and other systems that you call on without having to think about them most of the time. If you'd like, you can try deepening your breath, bringing it a little bit further into your body. So if you feel it coming in through your nostrils and down into your throat, see if you can bring it down into your chest, into your ribs, maybe even all the way down to your belly. And then on the exhale, allowing the breath to come out from your belly, your ribs, your chest, and out. Feeling the deep relaxation that comes with the focus on the breath. If your mind has been wandering at all, no worries. See if you can bring your attention back to your breathing and just breathe in and breathe out. Take a couple more breaths. Allowing your body to settle along with your mind. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes if they're closed and come back into the space between us, looking back at the screen if you'd like. And we're going to move to the next slide. And in this slide, I'm just going to give you sort of an overview of the purpose of this workshop. You can see in the middle that it says Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means yoga is the calming of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. There are other translations, but that is generally the gist. And the idea is that people tend to have a lot going on in their minds, a lot of activity. Some of it is helpful, some of it is distracting, some of it can be a cause for suffering, a little bit of self-torture. And today we're going to try to get at some of those habits, those mental habits that we can get trapped in that give us difficulty. This can happen in the workplace or outside, anywhere, but you can focus on the workplace, or you can, whatever scenario works for you that you want to draw on as we move through the workshop. I invite you to focus on that. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, you have self-awareness and self-management, and those are the first two principles of emotional intelligence. The second two being social awareness and relationship management. So we're focusing more on how we relate to ourselves, but of course that has an impact on how we relate to others, on our relationships with other people in the outside world. And what we want to do, the whole purpose of this workshop is to focus on self-care and well-being. So going from tension, stress, distress, discomfort, trying to find ways to bring self-care and well-being to ourselves. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to where what we're talking about today fits into the bigger picture of yoga. So many people are familiar with asana postures. You know, they may think of, okay, oh, I can't twist like a pretzel, I can't do yoga. But actually, that's just one part. That's just one part of the 8 limbs of yoga. And what we're going to be focusing on are the first and second limbs, the yamas and niyamas. And you don't need to memorize these things. It's just, I'm just introducing them today. We're going to be focusing on them sort of in English. But these are the basic principles outlined by the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So in that previous slide, that quote came from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is a handbook of guidelines for practicing yoga, for practicing in your life, bringing yoga into your life, into your daily life. And the yamas and niyamas are the foundation, sort of like the roots, as you can see here in this picture. And the yamas are restraints, things you want to avoid, and the niyamas are observances, things you want to do. But then in addition, to help us look at these or to engage with the yamas and niyamas, we're going to also be doing a little bit of asana, a little bit of postures, nothing really rigorous. Pranayama, we were just breathing, that's pranayama. Pratyahara, we were turning our attention inward. And then there are 3 parts to meditation, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. First being finding that focus. So we were focusing on our breath. Meditation is around building the relationship between yourself and that, whatever you're focusing on. Sometimes it can be focusing on a candle, say, and you might be candle gazing. But in this case, we've focused on our breath. And then samadhi is the sort of the liberation that we're seeking from the ego, from the idea that we're all separate, the idea that we are all connected, interconnected with all living beings. And so it kind of goes counter to our more individualistically oriented culture. But that's the ultimate goal of yoga, is to experience that oneness. But we need to engage with all these other things. And, you know, there are many different ways of getting benefit from yoga. It's not like you have to do every single thing. It's more like it gives you a map of opportunities to make use of it. So next, we're going to move into, and if at any time you have any questions, I can't see you raising your hand. You can always unmute yourself. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or to ask. And let's see, let's move on to the next slide. Oops. Okay, so we're going to be going through the different possible habits, right? So the kinds of traps you can get into. And the first one, what I'd like you to do as we're going through this is think about, okay, does this apply to me? Does this feel like it's something that I'd like to work on, or that I struggle with? I'd like you to take note of that, because we're going to be later doing a poll to just sort of see, for you to give a chance to identify the ones that are kind of maybe most salient for you. And it's not a test, it's really just a chance to kind of ponder these things. So you can see on the left, you have the problem, habit, or mental trap. And on the right, thinking about what would the opposite be. We're going to be working a lot with opposites. So you can see you have self-harm by a harsh self-criticism. So self-criticism isn't the only kind of self-harm you could be doing. And all of the descriptions that I have here are not like all the possible meanings of these different yamas and niyamas. It's really just, I'm trying to focus in on a little bit narrower to some extent. So what would be the opposite of self-criticism? Can anybody offer a suggestion?
Self-compassion.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you. Yeah, self-compassion, kindness. You know, how it feels when you're hard on yourself. Sometimes it feels very familiar, but it may not feel that great. So self-compassion, kindness, non-harm, those are all opposites. Then we have not being truthful, honest, or authentic. And so this isn't just, you know, telling a little lie here or there. You know, this has to do with, yes, this could also in the workplace have to do with, say, are you really honest about how you feel about something or what you think of something? You need to generally, we struggle some with balancing between being truthful and also being kind, because sometimes you want to give feedback, and how do you give feedback that's kind? But the idea of, is there any way in which you're holding yourself back from being truthful when it might actually serve a larger purpose to be able to share that information? And then when it comes to being authentic, you might think about if there's a part of yourself, an aspect of yourself that you don't share with others, that you don't bring to work. Not that you should, but more like maybe there's a part of you that you would like to, and that you are hesitating to bring to work. It's just something to think about. Maybe you would like to take steps in that direction or not, but it's an awareness. We're looking at an awareness of whether you are in some way operating not truly authentically for yourself. Recognizing, of course, that we have different personas that we project in different environments, and that, your full self, you may not be able to bring to work. I mean, their full self, but just something to think about. And then the third one has to do with the way it's put in yoga is non-stealing, which, yeah, you don't want to steal, things from other people, like things from the company fridge or whatever. But it's also more metaphorical, or, the idea of like wishing you lived somebody else's life, comparing yourself to somebody else and saying, somehow you are lacking because you don't have what they have, or you don't have some skill or strength or quality, and winding up devaluing yourself and dismissing what you do bring and recognizing your unique offerings. So that will be another one. Then we have expending time or energy on thoughts, activities, or people that deplete you. So, sometimes you have to be in a meeting that you don't really want to be in, and that's just sort of the way it is. And there are other times when you might have choices. Maybe you don't need to scroll through your phone when you're bored. Maybe you can do something else. I mean, just as an example. So you might think about, are there things that I engage in that aren't actually helping me? Maybe things like focusing on details, so getting everything really perfect and not looking at the big picture. That's something that I certainly sometimes do, where I'm like, oh my God, I gotta make it all right, rather than, okay, look at the big picture. Is the general gist, is it working? So, and looking at, you might think now about the kinds of activities or thoughts or people that you spend time on that deplete your energy, as opposed to the ones that bring you energy. Sometimes, you can always count on that one person to make things exciting, or just, bring you kind of excitement, Anyway, then moving on to attachment, the idea of clinging or grasping at something. It doesn't mean that you don't, say love a person. That's the human condition. But maybe you have a perspective that's like, no, this is the way it is. I'm attached to this, and this is the way it is. And maybe not being open-minded to other possible ways of thinking. So it could be a belief. It could be an experience. Maybe you had a wonderful experience that you just, oh, I wish I could go back there, and I wish I could do that. Or I did this great presentation, and, you're kind of dwelling on that past experience, which may be a great experience, but maybe it's preventing you from being in the present and focusing on where you are now. Or maybe there's a story from your childhood. Maybe you were raised with a certain position in your family where you were regarded a certain way, and then you kind of limit yourself by clinging to that story of like, oh yeah, I'm the one with the problems, or I'm the one who's responsible. But maybe that puts a burden on you that you don't need. Or expecting, things have to go a certain way. I want them to go a certain way, and if they don't go that way, then it's just like everything is lost. So these are other kinds of attachments. So as we're going through this, perhaps you've noticed that you relate to one or more of these, and you can imagine what the opposite would be. So like evaluating yourself would be like, okay, what do I bring? And so on. So now we're going to move on to the niyamas, which are a little bit different in their feel. But the first one is, it can be sort of clutter in your mind, like you have too much going on in there that you don't need to have going on in there, or it's like it feels disorganized. Or it could be your environment, and oftentimes, I imagine you're familiar with the idea that your environment reflects what's going on in your mind, and vice versa. So an impurity doesn't mean like you have impure thoughts. It could be that, but it could also be that it's just that, do I really need all that in there? Like maybe there's some residue of things that I don't really need that I could just let go. So that speaks to that niyama. And then there's the sort of, maybe people or you yourself are kind of like always complaining about things. This is wrong or that's wrong. I'm just dissatisfied with this. And, there's just everything is wrong. Negativity, focusing on negativity. And so what might be the opposite of negativity or dissatisfaction, focusing on dissatisfaction? Does anybody want to offer a suggestion? There's not just one answer. It could be a bunch of different things.
Gratitude.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. So this one speaks to contentment, the idea of being content with things, regardless of what's going on. It's easier to be content when things are going well. And then when things are more challenging, it's easier to focus on your dissatisfaction or negative perceptions of things. But yes, looking for ways to find gratitude, and it doesn't mean bypassing those things that are bothering you, but it's a lot of what today is about is the idea of shifting your mind to a new way of looking at things. And it's kind of a simple idea, but it is not easy to do on a regular basis. So thank you for that participation. The next one is lacking self-discipline, persistence, or follow through. So basically having a hard time pushing through difficulty, through discomfort. Sometimes, you might have a project to do and you get to that part that's like, oh, I don't want to deal with the statistics or whatever it might be. And then that's like when I personally, if I hit something like that, I'm going to go to the fridge and see what I can eat because I don't really want to deal with that right now, and I'm sure that I'll be able to think better once I've had something to eat. No. So the idea is that sometimes you have to push through to get to a place to finish things or to do things well, to have discipline, to engage in a practice on a regular basis. It's interesting, you can see that contentment, which is the opposite of the previous one, and persistence and doing and working might feel like they conflict with each other. Well, if I'm content with things, why do I have to push for things? And I think that just speaks to the human condition, that we're complicated, that it's not just like one or the other, it's you're kind of managing between these different things. The next one is acting without reflection, discernment, or inquiry. And the opposite of this is self-study, or the study of wise sources, or, in the yoga books, it talks about scripture, or, but it can be any source of wisdom, a person or a book or, other resource. And it doesn't mean that you want to, this isn't about analysis paralysis, like you're so, trying to figure things out that you don't do anything. But the idea of the idea is to observe your habits, pay attention to them so that you can decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and maybe make some shifts. And then the last one, holding on to control, not trusting, maybe not trusting other people, trusting that things will be okay, the universe will take care of you, kind of thing. I can say for myself that is one where I was preparing for this workshop. I realized I was agonizing over certain details. I'm like, oh my God, I am so trying to control everything, and I need to let go. And it can be really hard because it's familiar. It's like I can control this. This I know. I can make this perfect. But the fact is, perfection can be the enemy of the good. And sometimes you just got to let go and be in the moment and allow things to happen, and actually there's a joy that can come with that, right? Even though you kind of think, oh, if I let go, it's going to be awful. Well, you might even find a sense of freedom. So that's what I'm testing myself with, allowing myself to be enjoying, rather than worrying and that kind of thing. So hopefully, does anybody have any questions about any of these principles that I've covered? Okay. So hopefully you've had a chance to identify a few that kind of suit you, that fit for you. We're going to go to the next. Well, this isn't really the slide. This is where we're going to do a poll. And Lisa's going to help me with that. So I'd like you to, she's going to, do I need to stop sharing or no, I don't. Okay.
Can you see the poll?
I can see it.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So what you want to do is select up to 3 habits that cause you distress. So there are 10 of them. So you're going to need to scroll down and
Jean shared that it's hard to pick just 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, ironic, like, yeah. This is, I mean, I think it speaks to the human condition, and the fact that thousands of years ago, people were struggling with these same things. So the human condition, even with all the so-called advancements we may have, we're still humans. And in fact, some things, maybe, like when you think about social comparison, without the internet, maybe it was a little bit easier. You didn't always have a ping to tell you, oh, I've accomplished this, or I've accomplished that, or look at where I went on vacation, for example. So I'm not sure how many people we have.
Yeah, so all have participated in the poll.
Okay, great.
And the results are in, and you should be able to see them. Can you see them on the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
looks like 6 of 11 selected expending time, energy on thoughts, activities, or people. And there are many that ranked or 5 out of 11. So there are several, which include self-harm via harsh self-criticism, clutter, disorder, impurity in mind or environment, focusing on dissatisfaction, negativity, and holding on to control, not trusting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So more of like the control, the satisfaction, clutter, time and energy, and self-harm, devaluing yourself. Yeah. So you are not alone. This is what people struggle with. So we're going to move on from here. So what I'd like you to do, though, is choose one to focus on. And knowing that you can come back to this process as many times as you'd like, and just for the purposes of what we're doing today. And what I want to do now is I'm going to I'm going to guide you through a meditation where you're going to have a chance to sort of to ponder this one distressing habit, mental habit. And I encourage you to be kind to yourself, allow yourself to just enter into the experience and know that we're temporarily focusing on something that bothers you with a view to later finding ways to shift the way you operate. So we're not spending the whole class on, okay, this is everything that I struggle with, okay? So again, I invite you to close your eyes or find a point of focus a few feet in front of you, settle into wherever you're sitting, and take a few breaths in and out. Now, I invite you to bring to mind a scenario in which one of these problematic habits arises for you, and to picture yourself there if you can. Notice where you are, Notice if there are any other people with you or if you're alone. And what actually is happening? What is the situation? The situation that brings this mental habit up. What kinds of thoughts come to your mind? What kinds of feelings, emotions do you have? What are any physical sensations in your body? Is there a part of your body that where the emotion is located? If you're not feeling a part of your body, just notice any physical sensations as you are tuning into your thoughts and your feelings and how you're relating to yourself. And notice any images that come up, anything that comes up spontaneously as you're picturing yourself in this situation and how you're responding. Take a few breaths into the feeling, into your physical experience, into the thoughts that are coming to mind. Take a couple more breaths. Allowing the feelings, thoughts, and experience to sink in. And then you can gently open your eyes or just bring your attention to the screen. And we're going to move on to the next slide. And what I'd like you to do is jot down what you recall, what stood out for you from this meditation, a very brief meditation. We're going to be using this later. So what the setting was, the situation, who, what, where, and when. This may be something that repeats itself or just has happened once, how you responded, how it felt in your body, any thoughts or emotions or images, how you related to yourself. And you may not have answers for all of these, whatever, anything that you want to, that stands out for you. So we'll take a minute or so for this. Alrighty. Is everybody doing okay? Anybody need more time? I'm seeing a lot of photographs or pictures. So assuming you're ready to move on, we're going to move on to the next part. And this is where we start to look at how can we shift our thinking, our experience. So this is a principle from yoga called Pratipaksha Bhavanam. And the Yoga Sutras that I mentioned earlier that has all this guidance for how to live yoga has the second book Sutra 33 says, when disturbed by negative thoughts, cultivate the opposite mental attitude. Or it could be cultivate opposite or different, or invite opposite thoughts. So the idea is shift your thinking from the negative to the positive or to the opposite. So we can do this in several different ways, and we're going to focus on 3 different ways that you can do that. The first, so here are 3 approaches to experiment with: meditation, which we've already been doing a little bit of, and we're going to do a little more; developing an affirmation or mantra; and trying out poses or movement to help reinforce our new way of being, our shift towards something that feels more supportive. Okay, so we're going to come into a guided meditation again. I realize there's a lot of meditation in this workshop, and hopefully that's okay for you. So I invite you again to close your eyes or find a point of focus in front of you and settle into your body, breathing in and out. And invite back in that scenario that you were experiencing, that you chose earlier. And this time, along with that scenario, I invite you to bring in compassion and kindness, a feeling of self-care, an intention of self-care. And note for yourself how you responded. How did you respond to the situation? Remind yourself of that. And then see if you can shift into what would be the opposite or a more positive way to view the situation or yourself. And so, for example, if you were focusing on self-criticism, you could focus on bringing in that kindness, supportive thoughts, and allowing the self-criticism to dissipate. You can think about letting it go on the exhale and bringing in kind thoughts on the inhale, and thoughts that relate to that scenario. This isn't meant to bypass the negative feelings, but to just shift your thinking into a more positive direction. So if control was something you chose, maybe the opposite of that could be surrender. So if you want to breathe in the idea of surrender and letting go of control, and breathing out the idea of having to control the outcome or the story or whatever it is, see if you can shift the way you think to a new way of viewing yourself along with this problem or this scenario that arises. What would be an alternative way of responding to the situation with regard to your thoughts? You're breathing in new possibilities and breathing out anything that is not feeling good, that isn't serving you, that doesn't seem to be moving you in the direction you want. Clearing out that negativity and bringing in other options. You could imagine, what if you were advising your best friend? What would be another way for them to experience the situation, the difficult situation, or the challenge? Breathing in, breathing out. Notice what thoughts come to mind, what emotions, any shifts in your physical body, in the sensations in your physical body, in the way you relate to yourself. any changes, any images that emerge, any shift in the words that you use. This may be hard. If you're having difficulty, recognize that this is something that may take practice if it's not just happening. Any little shift to the positive or toward the opposite can help you in the direction that you want to go in. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Exhale, release. And then gently open your eyes again, or just come back to the screen. And I would like to invite you now, again, to write down, to record, take a minute to record anything that came up during this alternate, this more focusing on the opposite or on the positive. Anything that stood out to you. It's the same setting or situation, so you can focus on how you responded, how you felt physically, any thoughts, emotions, or images that arose, and how you related to yourself. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide. So what I'd like to ask is if anybody is willing to volunteer any reflections from the meditation we just did, anything about what it was like to shift from the negative and bring focus to the opposite or the positive. Is there anybody who's willing to say what the experience was like for you?
I noticed in the second, more positive meditation, I felt lighter and less, bogged down by everything that I was thinking about.
Great, thank you. I couldn't see who was talking. Who was that?
This is Andrea.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. Does anybody else want to share? Did any, and if you don't want to share, or if you want to, does anybody have difficulty feeling a shift from the negative to the positive? There's no right or wrong, and there's no like it's more just like trying to see if this was helpful at all.
Yeah, I found it fairly difficult.
Okay. All right. And it may be the way that I'm guiding it. So, did other people find it difficult, or did you find that there was, can anybody else share a positive experience with it, if anybody had one?
I'll share. It's Lisa Denora.
Thanks.
And I love this exercise and maybe because I do a lot of mindfulness, but I love this exercise of shifting. And so my negative focus was on stress, overwhelm, worry. And when I started thinking about the opposite, just calm, trust, space, openness, joy, allowing. It just, even for this short amount of time, it opened up more space and possibility. And I felt like I could, breathe better and think differently. So I love this practice, and I will be using it even so that I can have brief moments of spaciousness to shift.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate the words that you used, because, yeah, I mean, it really does help to think of words that will help you shift into a new direction. It's amazing how going from, say, control to surrender, there's just a different feeling tone. I mean, to me, in my body, it's like going from to like, and so it may be something that takes time on your own, and giving yourself the time to kind of work on it. But I appreciate that. I'm glad that you got something out of it. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure. We also have a share in the chat. So
Oh, great.
Amaya shared, I meditate often, but this is the first time I felt a physical sensation. The left side of my face was tingly for a minute, but I feel lighter as well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Amaya. Yeah, and sometimes weird things happen in your body, or they feel it's like, what's going on, and it's something happening. We don't always know. But so yeah, I thank you for sharing that. And I think it's also that if you're not in the practice of doing any meditation or guided breathing, that it can feel like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's sort of like you eventually start to notice things in your body and in your mind. And I can say for myself, the whole thing of shifting from negative to positive, it's really, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, not like years and years, but I have definitely noticed for myself that if I start with being self-critical, I'm much better now than I used to be at saying like, oh, cut it out, come on, shift. Like, does that feel good? No, it doesn't feel good. I'm shifting. And I'm always focusing on, like, the word is ahimsa for kindness and nonviolence and self-care, or self-compassion. Like, that's not nice. That doesn't feel good. I'm going to shift. And so it's become much easier, but it took time to go from that ruminate to like, oh, you know what? That's taking up time that I don't really need to spend doing that. I'd like to do something else. I don't want to spend my time that way. So it's, I think it is a process, and today is really like just a way of getting acquainted with some of these things. Okay, so thank you for sharing, all of you. And we're going to move on to the next. So this is kind of a long slide. It's got a lot going on in it. And the idea with this now is to try to develop an affirmation or a mantra for yourself. And this is the kind of thing like, something to put on a Post-it note on your mirror, your bathroom mirror, or around your house of like, you rock, or, and actually it may seem kind of simplistic, but these things can actually be helpful to remind yourself. And I have, for example, in the course of my training to become a yoga therapist, I have a partner that I practice with, and we were having a session, and I was talking about something about my not having confidence about something, and she helped me come up with a phrase, "I'm a badass." Now that's kind of extreme, right? But it's a good feeling. It's like, yeah, man, why am I being so hard on myself? I am a badass, And so it's kind of like fake it till you make it. If you say it enough, you start to believe it, and it may feel hokey, but it's really actually true. You can actually influence yourself, and the resistance to it, I can understand that resistance of like, why would I do that? How's that going to help me? But if you actually try this stuff is a practice. If you engage in the practice over time, that's you can actually make shifts. So I like to call on that mantra for myself from time to time when I'm like being like, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm a badass, so I can do it. Okay, so this is kind of involved, as I was saying. So reflecting on the first meditation, basically, I want you to come up with a sentence that encapsulates how you felt or how you related to yourself. Like, I'm going to show you a couple of slides to potentially help with it. So I have this belief slide. Maybe these are negative beliefs that you have. I'm somehow not enough or lacking. I'm too much this. I can't. I won't. I don't deserve. These different see if any of these speak to you. And if they don't, that's totally fine. It's just more like this might be somewhat helpful. A sentence that speaks to how you relate to yourself. Another thing that might be helpful is this next slide is potential feelings that you have. So I'm thinking probably more on the left side. Any of the feelings that come up when you are having this experience, how you relate to yourself, just generally, like it can make you angry when you're not able to, when you feel like you can't break out of a trap. It can make you disappointed or sad, different kinds. It make you fearful that you're not going to be able to accomplish something or change or whatever it might be. So again, the idea is to come up with a sentence or a phrase that captures that first meditation, how you were relating to yourself. And then if you're able to shift your mindset to an opposite or positive view, can you come up with a sentence to capture the new perspective that you had? So Amaya, for example, and one other person, Andrea, I think you said that you felt lighter. So that's speaking to how your body felt. So maybe there's a sentence that captures sort of your new attitude, like I can be such and such. So actually, here's a belief, I am enough, I can, I will, I'm entitled to, all these more affirming kinds of beliefs. See if any of these speak to you. And the other thing you can do is, if you've had trouble shifting your mindset, try now to come up with a sentence that speaks to what you would like to invite in as a new approach. So that could be one of those, it could be one of these beliefs, I'm enough, or I am smart enough, attractive enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. For the Saturday Night Live older people. Any of these, like this is what I'd like to invite in. I'd like to invite in something that is different from the way I was feeling at first. Maybe it's one of these beliefs. Maybe it's one of these feelings on the right: joy, gratitude, love, humor, excitement, etc. So this part of the exercise is about comparing and not just comparing and contrasting, but going from, okay, this is putting it verbalizing. This is how it is. This is how I tend to be, and the way that's uncomfortable. And then the second part being, this is what I'd like to shift to. Even if I can't do it yet, I would like to be kinder to myself. I would like to let go of feeling like I have to control things. I would like to be better at managing my time, or I would like to be able to tell people, please, I need to get my work done. Can you come back another time? I'm happy to see you, but right now isn't the best time, when you're trying to manage your energy. So are you guys, is this helpful, or rather, are you able to come up with sentences? I just can't see most of you. I just see your photos, so I don't know how you're doing. You can give me a thumbs up or say something or put something in the chat. Thanks, Amaya. Thumbs up. Awesome. And again, if anybody has any questions or feeling stuck.
Denora, I have a question. So
Yeah.
how important do you think it is for the mantra to be an I statement? Something like, I am enough, or I've got this, versus you've got this. Saying that to yourself, or a general statement like all is well.
I think it may vary from person to person. You know what I mean? It might depend on your psychology. Like if you don't trust the world or something, like people are good, could be,
Mhm.
but if it's something like more about controlling or addressing how you respond, it might be more like I can do it, something that's affirming of you rather than affirming of the larger world or of other people. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, I like what you shared. I think it depends on what resonates most for the person, in terms of,
Yeah.
what would be a powerful mantra.
Good.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like there is a lot of latitude there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is not something I've studied in depth so that I know the deep psychology of mantras, but yeah. And this is something that could shift, and as you overcome one kind of challenge, you might say, well, I have this new thing that I'm dealing with, or you could have different mantras for different challenges. So are you guys ready to move on to the next thing? Or do you feel like, do you need more time? Please unmute yourself if you need more time.
I'm seeing some thumbs up and some head nods that it's good to move on.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next one. Moving on. Okay. So here's just an example. I have a friend who used to have a quintet, and we were talking about this, and he started with this belief, that he should control what music they play. He wanted that sense of control over the music that they played at different venues. And his starting belief was, I know what music will appeal most to the audience. I'm uniquely sensitive to what they want. And ultimately, he came up with a new mantra, an antidote mantra, if you will. I can be open to the evolution of decisions in the moment. In other words, it doesn't have to all be decided ahead of the time, and invite others to contribute. Like, he came to that. He also talked about feeling like he felt really responsible for how everything turned out. And so that was kind of a burden for him. So anyway, that's just an example I just wanted to share. Okay. So now we're going to move on to approach number 3, Pratipascha Bhavanam, approach number 3, postures and movement. And I'm sure you're aware that, when you're feeling sad, your body probably kind of shows it. When you're feeling happy, you might, you likely have a smile on your face. You're going to express that. And any other kind of emotion, anger, you show with your body, tension, all these, we express through our bodies. And at the same time, however you stand or move, influences how you feel. So there's, it's been tested scientifically or, observed scientifically that when you smile, you actually feel a little better. You may not feel like everything is perfect in the world, but you feel a little better. So that's the simplest thing if you're feeling kind of down, is to try smiling. But you can also affect how you feel by how you stand and move. And there's this really great book by Amy Cuddy called Presence. She also has a TED Talk. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but she talks about this basically, and it actually has an impact on if you're interviewing or you're presenting, and the difference in how you hold your body can affect how you're perceived and all that kind of thing. So what I want to do now is shift into the physical realm and ask if it's possible, if you can express in your body how you felt in that first meditation experience, or if you didn't really feel a lot in your body, how do you feel when a problem habit arises? And you might consult your first sentence, that you put together of that speaks to how you experienced the first meditation, or that captures that feeling tone. But how would that be expressed in your body? So, for example, I can tell you that for me, when I was talking about the whole thing about control and needing to feeling like I have to control every little detail of things, to me, that's like a really tight kind of experience. Like, my shoulders are tight, my fists are tight, I'm hunched over, I'm uncomfortable, I do not feel free. And so it's not a very pleasant experience. And it's like, it's not good, right? To me, it doesn't feel good. And so then embodying the opposite, how can you express in your body what you'd like to invite in? What would be the opposite? Well, that might be like opening up and relaxing and, like maybe swaying from side to side, wiggling around, like trusting that the world is going to be okay, so it's a shift from being really held in and uncomfortable to more like, okay, let me let go of this tension. So I want to invite you guys to do something like that, to get into a pose that, or even, it doesn't have to be a big pose. It can be a little thing. It can even be you expressed it in your hand of like, or, whatever. And you can turn your camera off, or you can turn it on, so that we can, see that you're participating. And this is not an intellectual exercise. This is a visceral exercise. We tend to be so much in our heads, and a lot of what yoga offers is get out of your head and into your body, because our bodies have so much information. So what you could do is you could close your eyes and imagine the scenario that sets you off, and allow your body to come into some kind of expression of it. I might not be able to see it. Other people may not be able to see it, but you can feel it in your body that you're like, maybe your stomach gets tight, or maybe you feel like, if you're not, let's say you're not persisting, that you feel like you're totally lazy and you're just like not putting any effort in, and you're just, I'm so lame, I'm not doing anything, and I'm just so, I'm so sick of myself. Why can't I get my work done? As an example. So first, try to get into the physicality of the first one. Take a few breaths into that. And then see if you can shift into whatever would feel better in your body. Maybe more freedom, and maybe more focus. And if you're feeling like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, here's some ideas. Here's some possibilities that you can draw on, because, I realize it's like, what? This is like authentic movement. And some people really just have a hard time with like just acting out how they feel and stuff. Although Najat, I see you moving. Thank you so much. So like, for example, if you're frustrated that you're not, that you're somehow not pushing through to get things done, or, one thing, you can see the first, strength, perseverance, or balance. So strength, 5-pointed star is something, or you could do actually this hero stance where you stand with your legs, they could be sort of hip width distance, your hands on your hips, and you lift your chest and imagine you have a cape behind you, like, yes, I am Superman or Superwoman or superhuman. So that would be one. And it's a good idea to hold a pose for a period of time, like a couple of minutes, up to a couple of minutes, because then you can really feel it. And try to think, well, as you're doing this, you could think of that positive mantra. You could think, I'm a badass, or I don't have to control the world. I can let things go. My musician friend, he felt like he had like the weight of the world on his shoulders. And so for him, it was like, I can take that weight off. I can throw that weight away. I do not have to feel the weight on my shoulders. So 5-pointed star is one for feeling, big and powerful, along with the superhero one. Another one is warrior 2. If you've done yoga at all, you have your one leg is your knee facing in one direction, and your other leg is long with your, so your one foot is pointing to the side, and the other foot is pointing forward, and you're in a lunge. And you can bring your arms up and look over your fingertips and engage your belly, feel your feet solidly on the floor, look over your fingertips, and cultivate a sense of conviction. I can do it. And if you hold this for, a couple of minutes, you'll be tired. You're going to be like, wow, look at me. I pushed through that. So you could do this. You could do it on both sides. You could hold plank. Some of you, I'm sure, are athletic. You could hold plank, or something that asserts your physical strength or tests your physical strength. For balance, you could do tree, where you have one foot on the inside of the other thigh, or down. It could be down below your knee. Be sure not to put your foot on your knee, and work on balance. So you're just focusing on staying balanced. And you can bring your arms to the side or center or above or whatever. You bring your hands on your hips. Something to help you feel a sense of strength, consistency. And then, is this resonating for anybody? I'm seeing chats now. Let's see, let me look at the chat. Okay. 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 Let's see. Okay.
We have lots of thumbs up.
Okay, good. Thank you. Oops, I went up.
And
Sorry,
we have 6 minutes left.
Okay, good. Okay. So the other thing, so if you need to surrender, let go, if you're like, oh, I'm trying too hard, child's pose is a pose you can come into. Now, if you don't have a floor to lay on, you don't have space, or you don't want to lay on the floor, you can just sit at your desk, put your head on your desk, and just take some breaths. But for child's pose, you can bring your knees together or apart and bring your body forward, lower your head towards the ground, and try to let go of all your muscles, just releasing your weight into the ground. So that's one. Forward fold is just, and you can do this seated, especially if you have high blood pressure and you don't want to have your head below your heart. You can just fold forward. You can have your knees bent and just allow your weight to release over your legs. Or you can do this standing up, in which case I would recommend bending your knees and releasing your body. You can grab opposite elbows, allowing your back to release, your head, your neck, bringing your weight into your heels, swaying from side to side, just letting go, pushing, going against that need to control, and reclining, basically laying back, and extended exhales. It's not a pose, but the idea is if you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, that helps you feed into the rest and digest state. And so it's the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, and that helps your body relax and your everything to slow down. And so that's a great way to surrender. If you're feeling like you're, if you feel like you're going, and you're like, I am burned out, or I'm at risk for burning out, it's good to do something like this. And then there are some things you can do to clear away negativity or doubt. One of them is wood chopper, and you should do this, make sure that your back's okay, but you bend your knees, your legs are far apart, and then you go. So that's an example of something cutting through self-doubt. No, I won't be self-doubting. But another way you could do that, you could just shake something off. You could gently push something away, like, imagine that you have self-doubt or something else, self-criticism, like, no, I don't need you. You can move away. Just go on your merry way. I don't need you. You can do twists to help. Twisting is sort of like a way of, like, you can imagine squeezing out a toxin from your body, but even just negativity. You inhale up and then you exhale, twist. Pull your belly in towards your spine. And popping a balloon, you can imagine popping a balloon, same idea of the doubt around you. And there are more rigorous ways of doing it. I'm kind of rushing through these things, but So that gives you an idea of the physical ways you can kind of combat, because sometimes I'm thinking. I can't get anywhere unless I move my body, and that can help you really shift. If you can do a headstand, you can see things upside down, and that can shift your thinking too. Now, if you can't do a headstand, that's totally fine. Just fold forward, and that can also, you can see things upside down. Okay. That's my show. That's the workshop, but I just want to emphasize that this is something you can do. You know, it's going to help you if you choose one or many of these things that you can do every day. Choose something to do every day, some regularity, or you can do it when something arises. Try to draw on this, but if you practice every day or something every day or regularly, it's sort of, you form new neural connections, and it becomes easier to tap in to these other ways of being and thinking, into the more positive ways of being and thinking. And it's easier to let go of the negativity. So I just wanted to ask if anybody has anything they'd like to share in terms of what you got from this, what was most helpful. I would appreciate if anybody's willing to share anything.
I'll share. Thank you, Denora. You definitely made me think about things that I can kind of shift my mind when I get a little stressed or I feel like I need to take control, and just things to think about, both in my head and then physically, things that I can do.
Great.
So
Thank you. Thanks, Najat. I appreciate that. Anybody else have anything you want to share in terms of?
Yeah, I joined late, but I really appreciated the physical reminder of just how I know when I'm stressed, I feel really tight and I forget that. And so I think being aware of that tightness, but also things that I can do to help manage that and manage my stress physically was definitely helpful. Thank you,
Great.
Denora.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. And if you have any questions, I can stay around. If you have any, if you want to reach me at any point, actually, here's some additional resources if you want to learn more about the yamas and niyamas or Pratipaksha Bhavanam, which I think is a really interesting set of practices or way of looking at things. And there's also, you can also reach me at denora@berkeley.edu. And these are additional resources from People and Culture. And thank you, Jean. And that's basically that.
Well, thank you so much, Denora. I love the way that you presented these three approaches, the meditation, the mantra, the movement, and how you can do one or a combination of them. And thank you for demonstrating all the movements. Like that in itself would be a cool movement, just moving through all of them, experiencing all that. And thank you all for being here, for just being present and engaging and being self-reflective, and hope that you can just take the remaining 14 minutes of your day for some just focus time on yourself and decide, how you can use this energy into wrapping up your day and rolling into Friday tomorrow with more mindfulness and resilience. So thank you all. I did put the evaluation in the link. Here it is again. I will send out the link to the deck and the evaluation through an email by sometime tomorrow. And so I hope you all just enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening, and happy fall. And thanks again to Denora. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everybody.